But we also think real estate's going back to, because there were no rules during COVID. You know, like everything was just the Wild West. It really was. It was the most bizarre.
Tulsa Talks is the podcast that is inspiring people to have everyday meaningful conversations to gain perspective and help the world.
So many people need to go through self-discovery process, and historically, people have done that over a long period of time of failure.
Right.
And I propose that if we can see our gifts, abilities, and tendencies, and then we can process those through our triumphs and tragedies faster.
Right.
Then we can get to our negotiables and non-negotiables sooner to be able to combine those into who you've been created to be.
Right. I like that. So how do people find you to do that?
We are about 5 months into this.
Right.
And I've never seen what I'm talking about done anywhere else.
Right.
So we are absolutely taking steps as they're shown to us.
That's great. Organic is a way good way to do things.
Yeah. Intentional steps as boldly as we can. Take those as we're shown where to step. So hopefully we don't make missteps.
Right.
That being said, we're currently building out a business connectors section, which is kind of like, or very similar to BNI or Gold Star Referral Program.
Right.
Have you ever seen those guys?
Yeah, my office mate's BNI.
Okay.
It's just when you're a realtor, there's a lot of realtors in Tulsa.
Yeah. That's
not the easiest thing to jump into.
What's that?
To get in a BNI group if you're a realtor. There's a lot of realtors.
Okay.
I think there's 6,000 of us actually in Tulsa.
Okay. What is your history? What is your? Let's see. How do we ask this question in your industry? What is your average gross sales annual?
Let's see. Usually it's around, my gross commission is,
Not commission, but sales.
The sales, it really is all over the place because I've been doing it for a really long time. So, my average sales price is, I would say probably 3.
But annual sales.
Annual sales, I would have to back it out. Somewhere between 7 and 9 million. It's averages. Like last year was pretty rough. Anytime we have a election year, it's weird. Mm-hmm. Very weird. And last year was weirder than any that I've had before. It felt like everything was collectively. And so it's leveling out, which is great. But we also think real estate's going back to, because there were no rules during COVID. You know, like everything was just the Wild West. It really was. It was the most bizarre, weird, that people were just throwing signs. Nobody was doing any work on it. Nothing. Like if you don't like it, someone else will buy it, and they weren't wrong. But we had to all learn how to sell real estate again. And it's very seasonal. So it's good. It's busy right now. It's weird. We just had a 3-hour meeting about it yesterday. It's either, if you don't price it right, it's like, what did my broker say? It either sells in the first 7 days or it sells in 77 days. And she's not kidding. I live in Maple Ridge in a condo, like one of the most desired places to live in town. I have a condo listed in my condos. I couldn't even get someone to show it at all. They're rarely for sale. And it's just weird. And now all of a sudden it's being shown. It's just, there's no method to the madness right now. It's very...
I've heard 3 years ago that we were getting back to normal. Or
I wouldn't say
normal.
3. That wasn't normal. I don't think
right?
COVID was not.
Really
no, COVID was a made-up market. We're never going to see those interest rates again. We made up a market. We did. We dropped interest rates to some absurd level. People were just, and that's why a lot of people are stuck, because what you can afford at a 3% interest rate compared to a 7 is a lateral move for most people. I mean, the house you own now at 3%, at 7% is a way different payment.
Sure.
You know what I mean? That's a lot of money. And so there's a lot of, I mean, people are always going to move, right? So you either sell your house, make a lateral move, you keep it and buy a new house, you suck it up. You know what I mean? There's, the good news is you probably have a lot of equity at that, right? But historically in Tulsa, real estate is very seasonal. So January and February, depending on how cold it is. I mean, during COVID, that didn't make any sense. Everyone just bought houses every day. It just didn't matter. So now it's back to that. January and February are very slow. It starts picking up in March. School gets out, it starts picking up. Then the first 2 weeks of June, everyone's on vacation. Then it picks back up again. And then when school goes back it'll go back to dying down when everyone takes their kids back to college and school starts. And then it'll pick back up until about Thanksgiving. And then it dies. And then surprisingly, December's a great month. And then we start all over. But it hasn't been that market since 2021. So we're trying to unpack this thing we've been doing, the Wild West, for a little bit. And it went from being so seller-centric and like, we're not paying any closing costs, we're not doing any repairs, to so buyer-centric right now that, like, I had a $315,000 house in Jinx, gated community, and they asked for $18,000 worth of closing costs, and she paid it. It'd been sitting there for 2 months. During COVID, it would have sold in 2 days. Mm-hmm. So it's a long, long time ago lender that I still have said.
But 7 days or 77 days, and there seems to be no rhyme or reason.
It literally doesn't. Great houses. Like I'm
reasonable price, market priced.
The problem is in some of these neighborhoods, the only comps we have were COVID comps. Well, it's like it's leveling out a little bit. You know what I mean? These extreme. It needed to adjust. We needed some raise in price. You know, I mean, you own a house. I mean,
Tulsa's cheap.
It is, and it took a longer to get equity, but we also didn't have these giant pendulum swings like they do in some places, which was great because we didn't lose everything in 2008 like some places did. Mm-hmm. A lot of people who lost money were investors, but most regular people were okay. Mm-hmm. But when it fell that time, it was because literally I swear your hairdresser could say you made enough money and you could go buy a house. Like, it was a little crazy. You could get a loan for 103% of the value of a home, which you shouldn't be able to do that.
Right.
You just shouldn't.
Yeah.
You need some skin in the game. But
10%, 20% maybe.
Well, I mean, FHA. I mean, here's the deal. There's some people have really great credit and no cash, especially right now. You know what I mean? So, like, for example, I had a friend who's a single mom and a teacher. She didn't have a lot of cash. She has great credit. But during COVID, I told her to rent a house for a year because she needs someone to help assist with closing costs, which you can do on an FHA loan. And no one was doing that, literally, because they had 10 offers and half of them were cash. The people were pulling money out of 401ks like, why not? We don't care if we're getting penalized. We're just going to take... It was crazy. It was so crazy. That's why I don't understand why people are freaking out about interest rates, because historically, 7% is a normal rate.
Right.
Over 40 years, 7%. Like, when I first started, people were refinancing for 8. And 6. Like, that was the great...
somewhere between 5 and 7.
100%. And so, like, over a long time, and especially if I wasn't selling houses in the 80s, but interest rates were 13%.
Or more.
Or some of them were 20, and people did it all day long.
Yep.
That's a credit card interest rate. And
what is the term? It's something like variable interest rate?
And there are some people...
those people back in the 80s got hammered.
There was a lot, and assumable loans were a big deal, and people would assume them and then not pay them. It was Wild West again, but it's like everyone was doing it, so we were all doing it, and it's not like that. Like, it didn't fall like that. It's regulating back to something that we didn't make up. So people are adjusting. So I think people have more time to be more picky, which people needed more time. Trying to make a decision about the biggest purchase of your life in 15 minutes, because if you don't,
somebody else is going to take it?
Oh, I have a friend that lived in Colorado, and they were doing 15-minute showings, and you either made a decision then or you didn't get to make an offer. I'm like...
And the offer was a lot of times more than asking?
100. I had a house in Glenpool. Not a house. Like...
Regular house.
Just a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 1,200 square foot house. Like 50 other houses next door. 13 offers in less than 5 hours. All of them but one was over list price. Most of them were $20,000 over list price. Half of them were cash. It was insane. Even my seller.
You picked who you wanted to be able to.
Well, and this
who
is
you wanted to allow to live in that house.
Well, and you know what was really sad?
Emotional connection. A lot of times.
What was really sad is it was really stressful for a lot of sellers, because my seller was a single mom. She needed to sell it because she was moving to help her family in Miami, and she needed the cash offer. But she felt bad because 2 of the offers were veterans. And she was in tears. And she was like, Camille, I feel so bad. She goes, I know these people are giving me their best offer, and I can't take them all. And I'm like, I know, Bonnie, I know. And I'm like, but you have to do what's best for your family. And everyone's bringing their best offer right now, because if they're not, their realtor's not doing their job. Mm-hmm. But you have to do what's best for your family. You know what I mean? And so she wrote this little letter and thanked everybody and was like, but I'm like, it was so extremely ridiculous that it was stressful. It was stressful
to take the most or the best deal?
Yeah, because she wanted to help the veterans, but that wasn't the best thing for her family, because it was contingent upon a mortgage. She had a full price cash offer. She already had a house she wanted. They didn't need to do inspections. Like, she had to do what was best for her family. But she understood that these people were just like her. And she wanted to do and I was like, I get it. So it's like, it's leveling out.
Flip a coin.
She did. You know what I did? I didn't tell her, because people got to where they were writing letters and sending pictures of their family.
Oh yeah,
well, ethically,
sell it to
but ethically
you're
can't,
emotionally connected.
And
to.
I told other agents, I'm like, I'm not giving that to my SL. Here's why: it's not ethical. It's not fair for her to look at a picture of your family and pick based on that. Everything in the code of ethics for realtors says it's absolutely illegal.
But it was well known. It's well known that
I'm sure it absolutely happened. But we had classes about it. It's not the right thing to do. It says clearly, like, I can't decide if I want to sell my house to you based on your sex, your religion, your creed, your all the things. So how is that not? If I present this letter with my family and pull your heartstrings and all the things, and they were beautiful letters, but that's not fair to my seller. You know what I mean? Because then there's guilt and all the things. And then even if you want to pretend like you're not racist or biased, we all are. We were raised that way. And our job, obviously, is to learn and to do better. But you can't do that. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
I propose that you can.
Right.
I propose that you can. But...
According to the Board of Ethics, I cannot, but yes.
Well, I'm talking about we can live beyond that culture and beyond that upbringing.
100%. We can absolutely, but I'm saying,
And it might be in this instance, by just looking at the brass tacks, so to say, of what that actual best offer is.
Right.
No, Black and white.
That's what I did. I laid them all out in paper. I put her net.
No stories, no pictures.
Nothing.
This is what it is.
That's what you're supposed to do. I'm
but
supposed to rent.
The other did happen.
100% every day. All the time. All the time.
Not so much anymore. It's getting to be more of a realistic market.
I think it's leveling out. I think it'll do what it did in 2008. It'll weed a lot of people out, because you have to actually do your job now to sell houses. So how's
the real estate market is tightening in Tulsa?
I think it's good. I think it's good. I think sellers are having to fix some things they should have probably fixed. Deferred maintenance. Buyers are savvy. You know what I mean? There's a lot of information online to go buy a house. Yeah. Most people have done so much stuff online before I ever talked to them.
My wife, Rita, and I took our first gamble into the flippers market in 2019.
It was an interesting year to do that.
And during that time, I called the police, peak of COVID, March, April, because the house had been broken in before.
Where was it?
Gilcrease exit. It was north of 244 or 412 right there.
Right.
In
Like
an older subdivision that it was a triplex that we made into a single family dwelling.
Interesting.
And we bought it for like $36,000, run down.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Just unoccupied, people, except for vagrants, homeless. It was a homeless house. And it had been broken into. And when we were in the after it was broken into, we had a friend of ours put a security system in it.
Right.
And I was awakened by this security system at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, wow.
I called the police and I said, hey, my alarm went off. Yeah, we'll be there in a few hours, maybe sometime later, by lunchtime.
Are you
because
kidding?
it's COVID. I said, okay, not that I wanted to do this, but they tied my hands. I said, okay, I'm on my way to my house, in my investment, with a firearm, and I will take care of it myself. They said, we'll be there within 15 minutes.
It's amazing how fast they got there, right? Were there still people there?
No. But we did have a reasonable conversation, and I try not to be aggressive, abrasive that way. But we fixed that house so that it was right. And fortunately, real estate did go up in 2020, 2021.
It was insane.
And we were able to break even because it did go up. So, yeah, we were at $250,000
Right.
after it was all said and done.
I'm surprised you didn't just break even, though.
And it was nice. It was nice. It was right. I mean, all of it was structurally sound, and it was new from the roof through out.
Right.
And it was a showplace, and it was a piece of art that we could have. We still have some attachment to it because
Sure,
we
you
put
spend a lot of
ourselves
time
into
on
it.
it.
Yeah. We spent. We had it for a year and a half.
Did it just take that long because you changed the structure of it?
Well, it took that long because I got frustrated.
Did you do the work yourself?
No, but I just saw the direction that it was going, and I'm like, I'm okay with that money sitting there for now.
Right.
Let's go do something else and not focus on that.
And come back, right?
Come back, circle back around to it. And when we were done, it was nice. And it was kind of an adventure. It's
a lot. I try to tell people.
That's an understatement.
I did 15 years of just REO. My team I was on was mostly REOs, bank-owned properties, and helping people buy investments and flips. And people think it's HGTV. I'm like, this is not. If it was that easy, they would never make it to the market. You want to know why? Because every realtor would buy them all. I'm like, it's not as easy as it looks. This is if you can't just walk in and put paint and carpet and make $1 million. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
This isn't television. There's going to be stuff nobody wants to fix because it's not sexy to fix electric panels. It's not sexy to fix structure. And they don't show that stuff on HGTV. They don't show you the rotting planks under the house. They don't show you that the whole house needs to be rewired because nobody wants to watch that on TV. But that's the reality of doing flip houses and doing investments. I'm like, it's going to cost you at least 10% more than you ever planned.
Yeah, and we didn't want ourselves to have something come through our lives that wasn't going to be of value for the community.
Right, I get that.
And we saw a lot of other people that put makeup on a
There
pig.
is so much.
Covered all kinds of stuff up, and we were not. I mean, we could have made money. Doing
tons.
it the other way. We could have made money the other way. You know, probably 75 to 100 grand.
I tell kids that all the time because I'm like, all they do is look at the pictures. I'm like, do you understand? I don't look at pictures of houses anymore unless it's something specific you want me to see. I'm like, we get paid really well. I pay someone a lot of money for houses to go take pictures for me. No one takes pictures of the crappy neighbors. No one takes pictures of broken sewer pipes. No one takes pictures of the things that they didn't want to fix. Like, nobody does that. I'm like, and you can paint is $25 a gallon. An electric panel is $2,000 to start. I'm like, My job is to help you find something that you're not going to have capital improvements in the next couple of years. And you're going to get mad at me.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you all the things that aren't right. Like I have a client right now who's mad at me because the roof is 15 years old. And I'm like, if you can get it insured, great. I'm like, if you get another 2 years out of that $10,000 roof, you'll be lucky.
What's crazy is we just had a friend of ours, neighbor across the street, that I took to the emergency room because he was up in his attic, 65 years old, and fell through his ceiling.
That happened to my friend. Did he land on his back?
He did. Yep. Carlos is this guy's name. And we had a roofer friend of ours come out.
Was he all right?
And yeah, he's fine now. I mean, I took him to the emergency room. He had CT scan and...
They're both lucky they didn't break their back.
Yeah, just bruised. In fact, this fellow had a back and hip replacement, 2 different surgeries within the last 2 or 3 years. Yeah. So my roofer goes over there and looks at Carlos and Marie's house, or the roof, and he's like, yeah, this is like ruined roof. It's got hail damage, it's got this, it's got that. It's just needing to be replaced. And I said, while you're at it, would you look at mine? I said, it is 12 years old, roughly. And he said, yeah, I'll look at it, but it surely doesn't look like that from the ground. He got up on it and he was like, man, I can't understand how this is, but your house, your roof looks like it's brand new still.
Some of them are. It really doesn't make a lot of sense because I've seen 6-year-old roofs that need to be replaced. And I've seen, my sister had a roof when they lived at 47th in Pittsburgh, and I told her before we listed it, because my sister's very practical, very black and white, not like me, reads the directions, all the things. And I just said, look, if I was an agent bringing a buyer to your house, I would point out that the roof age, because that's a deferred maintenance. We don't get 25-year roofs in Oklahoma.
Right.
It doesn't happen.
I've heard 7 years average. Because of the hailstorms we have.
Here's the crazy thing. I was sitting with Rob Irwin, who's like over most of farmers in Tulsa, and we talked, I think in November, and it's kind of weird. We were just having this conversation. You know, when you drive a car off the lot and you drive down the street, that day, you're not getting replacement value for that car.
Oh, no.
Right, but the fact that they ever gave us replacement value for a roof is weird, don't you think? A little bit weird.
I think State Farm still does it as far as I know.
Here's the deal. They did my Lynn that is in Bong with us. He says State Farm is one of the. I said, who's your insurance agent? He said State Farm, but they also turn down more claims and have to sue them more often for not specific performance, for not doing what they say they're going to do. But my meeting with
That's what my roofer told me too. And then I've got other friends that have had wonderful experiences with State Farm.
I agree with you. They do pay out more claims than anyone else, but they also lost $5 billion last year. $5 billion. That's a lot. It would have put farmers under. But I was sitting talking to him, and we were talking about...
Who's this?
Robert, when he doesn't sell directly.
I thought you said something about Lynn.
Oh, Lynn was talking about farm. We were talking about, I don't even know how roofs came
Lynn
up. Anderson, he does.
Yeah, attorney friend of mine.
He does, what do you call it, personal injury. And he sues insurance
attorney
companies.
Friend of mine.
Right. But we were talking about in roofs. I don't even know how. It's because our friend Candy. Anyway, he works out at my place. So we were talking about replacement for roofs and D to D to D. But what Rob said, and this is the conversation we were having, is that used to... 10 was like, you're on the edge. Now
10 years old roof.
Right. You're you need to start thinking about it, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
They were saying, that was in like November. I want to say in February, we were talking.
4 months later.
We were talking, he's saying he doesn't think that you can get a roof fully insured, meaning for replacement value, for under 8. And then I have another client who was going to buy a house, and the roof said it was 5 years old, and her insurance company told her she had to have documentation and proof that roof was put on 5 years before that, or she wasn't getting it. Do you know how many people have their brother's cousin's uncle put a roof on their house and don't have any documentation? So I called Rob, and I'm like, is this a new thing? And he's like, probably. But they've also raised the deductibles on roofs so much that you might as well pay for it anyway.
So it's almost like not a replacement value roof.
I think what's going to happen is that we're going to stop insuring roofs in Oklahoma, is what I think is going to happen. Because it's just, how can they? it's so, our weather.
Cost prohibitive?
It's so, well, everyone's roof has hail damage.
Yeah, 12-year-old house and zero hail damage. Excuse me, a 12-year-old roof and zero.
Well,
hail
and here's
damage.
the other thing is people think because your roof is old, like this lady, this agent, I was like, well, what if it needs a new roof? Because you can stand at the bottom. I can stand. I'm 5'3". I can look at your roof and see the edges of it. Like if you can see the edges of your roof and it's shiny, that's from granulation. That's not hail damage. Your roof is old.
Sure.
Now, it may not be that old calendar-wise, but what causes that is the granules falling off your roof.
Yeah.
So the wear and tear on your roof is old. But people don't want to know that. I'm like, it's a cost of owning a home.
Yeah. What other unknowns, unforeseens to a typical buyer that might be not using a realtor? What other things are they not going to see if they just buy it without getting an inspection or having a relationship with a realtor?
I hope they don't. But honestly, I think the biggest things in Oklahoma, I mean, termites are everywhere, but termites here aren't like termites in California. We're not tarping your house. We're not fumigating. As long as you get it checked fairly reasonably, it's not usually tragic. You know what I mean? Unless it's like someone's grandma's house that's been sitting there and like it's got, you know, a crawl space and like underneath is bad. But, well, here's a good example. This is an investor. I just sold a house to a lady that over by, super cute house, so cute, over by Lake TU, you know, little gingerbready house, red brick, so cute, all the things, right?
Is that Kendall Whittier?
No, up further, like more like by Harvard, like that way, the other way. Yes, that is also by TU, but the other direction.
I got it.
More like by where the basketball courts are, but like that way, you know, like that way. Yeah. And so cute. Well, remember when we had that cold snap like February and it got like 5 degrees for like 5 minutes? Okay, my clients are here from Kansas, so when you have out-of-town clients, you're on stage for that time. They have this much time to go do what you would normally do over a few weeks, right? If I was showing you and your wife houses, we might go see a couple a day.
Yeah,
usually I don't but I don't.
Not me. I function everything within certain amount of time.
Right, but I don't usually show anybody more than 5 houses because by the end of that, you're going to forget what you saw.
Sure, absolutely.
People get overwhelmed. You're like, where was the washer in that house?
You should narrow it down for me before we go see 30 houses.
Well, no, most people do. But even then, I'm like, okay, say there's 5 because you forget.
Sure, absolutely.
And you can't remember what you saw and you can't remember what you liked about it. And it's
I better take videos and pictures as I go through.
Well, you're tired. And so, and most of the time, people are kind of in the same area. So you can knock out 5 pretty quick.
Sure.
But when you have people from out of town, you're seeing a lot of houses in
More
a
than
short
5?
amount. Oh, God, yeah.
People don't narrow it down to...
Well, when they're from out of town and they don't live here, they're here for a certain amount of time. I mean, I've showed like 12 houses in a day. Like
most people look at 12 houses before they buy one.
Some, less than you do, but like, especially when people don't have it geared in, like we're willing to look all over the planet. Like I had some guy tell me I'll look from Muskogee to like Barnsdall. I'm like, we're not doing that. I'm like, you need to figure out what you kind of want, and then we can look at like Muskogee one day. We can look at Barnsdall, but I'm not driving 2 hours between houses. I'm just not. No, neither are you. No. So we get it narrowed down, and sometimes people need you to help them figure out what they're. We all have this list, this magic list of what we think we want, right? And then after you kind of play with it, you're like, well, maybe like where I live, I would have told you. I need washer and dryer in my condo. I need central heat and air, which I didn't realize the kind of system my condo has, but I also didn't know I could live in Maple Ridge for what I had at that time. I don't have a washer and dryer in my unit. I'm not willing to give up a closet in order to put one in my unit, but I also live a block off the river across the street from Hartweldon. What I started with and what I ended with aren't the same, but I wouldn't trade what I ended up with for any of that. So people start with this idea and they watch too much television. So we just have to work down to me pointing out that it is way more important that these pictures aren't nearly as cute sometimes, but you have a new roof and the electric's really good and the heat and air was just put in. Those are big ticket items. We're talking $20,000 or $30,000 right there.
Sure.
You can redo that kitchen and bathroom for $15,000 over time, and you can put it on cards, and your brother's cousin can paint. Like, you just have to help people figure out what they're most. And some people don't want to do anything. Okay, fine. Then let's lower the price a little bit and get you the Taj Mahal of that price point instead of you spending the max that you can and that's not finding what you want. You know what I mean? Like buying land right now is hard. But I would say structure. But this house over by TU, the investor bought it. Not my client. Didn't do inspections. Didn't care. Owned lots of houses, right? She's been using it as a VRBO for years. So this cold snap, I'd shown it on a Thursday. Her husband came in on Saturday. And so I know the agent. I've been doing this a long time. I know a lot of people. Sally's like, hey, when you were at that house, did you smell gas? I'm like, of course not. I would have called you immediately. You know, I mean, blowing up a neighborhood is bad. So when you smell gas, you tell somebody.
Sure.
I was like, no. She goes, well, an agent before you thought she smelled gas, so we turned the heat off.
See,
it's 5 degrees outside, remember? Well, because the heat's, you have to turn the plumbing off if you turn the heat off. So the gas is heat, the plumbing's off, so we go see it. Let me just tell you, it turned into, for the seller, who didn't do inspections when she bought it, 3 gas leaks, replacing a hot water heater, replacing part of the sewer in the backyard, replumbing the hole underneath of the house. Now, this is a savvy buyer. She owns multiple houses in multiple states, but not doing inspections. That stuff could have been caught when she bought it. Not all of it. That gas leak was probably over time, but the house was built in 1935. There's things.
Yeah. That house
that is extreme.
That house that we flipped was built in 29.
Right. There's some extremes. You know what I mean? I love the neighborhood I live in. I love to sell it. It's beautiful. I love old houses. But I tell everyone, like I looked at a house yesterday. It's $1 million. The house down the street's 1.2. They look pretty similar. I'm like, I bet you anything. I haven't pulled it, but I'm going to look at it. I bet you the electric on the other one's completely rewired. The plumbing's redone. I would check the sewer lines to see what's been done, and all that's
that old clay stuff is
big money, but no one can see that in the pictures. No one cares. You know what I'm like? That's why you have a realtor, and it's like now with the laws that went down last year, where that guy that had been trying to sue the National Association of Realtors for 40 years, saying we had a monopoly. Do you know this? So historically, for 100 years, the sellers usually paid the commission on both sides. So when you bought your house, you didn't pay me, you didn't pay your realtor, you paid the seller did it. And when they bought their house, for 100 years. Well, unfortunately, I'm sure it didn't actually start in California. I want to say it started in Indiana, but this man had been trying to sue the National Association of Realtors literally for 40 years. So the latest thing he had picked up some traction. So they sued, saying that commissions were set, which has never been true, because banks come in and tell you what they're going to pay you all the time. It's like historically in our marketplace, it's 5 or 6% usually.
Yeah,
seller
6%.
Gets 3 to the seller, 3 to the buyer. Well,
right.
After this whole lawsuit, what happened is we still do the same thing, except for now I give you a piece of paper with the contract that says you're paying me. But all of that was because somebody didn't tell them their job. And so no agents in Oklahoma. So now what happens is when you list a house, it used to, I would list your house, we would do a listing agreement. It says on there 6%, right? Now it says you're going to pay me 3%, but the buyer's probably going to, literally it says this on the listing agreement, probably going to ask for 3% too. If anything, I'm getting paid more consistently because I'm not discounting it. I have to ask you as a buyer. I'm telling you when we go see houses, I can't even take you through the threshold of the house next door with me without you signing a piece of paper that says you know how I get paid. And if the seller doesn't pay me, you're paying me. So before, if a seller was asking for 2%, I just took it. Now, if the seller's not paying me, you're paying me. So if anything, it benefited us greatly. It just made us do our job, which we should have been doing historically anyway.
Yeah.
But all of that to say, now there's buyers that are like, well, if I'm going to have to pay, I'm going to go to the listing agent, which they still have to pay. So they're like, okay, great, bring me a listing contract. Because if I write the contract for you, then I'm ethically bound to represent you. 100%. I can't pretend to represent you a different way. So people are coming in, and it's like, I just can't imagine. I tell everyone, for you to choose not to do inspections I make you sign something that says this is completely ridiculous.
Yeah. So you make sure that the foundation, the structure, the roof, the mechanical systems, all of that are in good working order.
Oh my God, 100%.
And not needing to be repaired or replaced anytime soon.
Well, I mean, you do inspections not because it's a laundry list for the seller. You're kicking the tires. This is your test driving of the car. And we're not giving, I mean, I don't know when the last time you bought a house, but these new fancy reports they have are literally 164 pages long. 164 pages of
and who's going to read through all of that?
Well,
understand
there's a
what
lot
it
of
says?
pictures, but what we're looking for is it safe? Is it done properly? Like, I don't want you to move into a house with a leaking hot gas tank, like that wasn't a hot water tank that Bubba installed that's not vented properly. You know, those are the things we're looking for. Big ticket items, you know, and there's a lot of agents that, like, especially newer ones, that don't tell their clients that you can't just copy and paste the inspection report. It doesn't work that way. No sellers are going to do all those things. We're looking for big ticket items so that you know what you're buying. You're making an educated, calculated risk about a house. You know, even new construction is going to have. I just sold a brand new house in Pryor. Granted, they were a little more haphazard than some builders, but it's a little builder.
Extensive
dumb stuff.
Punch list.
It was more than I thought it was going to be. Let's just say that. Because a lot of builders will tell you, oh, we just have our own walkthrough. And a lot of them do. Big builders have their own people. But, I mean, there was some pretty good stuff. Like, just for example, the insert in the fireplace was off, the countertop in the kitchen. Just not attention to detail. Like, there wasn't weather stripping around two of the doors, and one of the hinge doors wasn't hooked up right. But the point being is that all houses have stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so realtors and their team of inspectors, so forth, you probably have relationships with lenders, mortgage brokers.
I try. Here's the deal. I mean, a lot of people come with their own people. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and if they're
pre-approved before they come see
right,
you.
and they should be. You should. I mean, I always tell people it's more like, but when you buy a car, you walk on the lot, you pick out a car, then they finance you, right? Usually. And if they can't finance you for that, they have this fine car in the back they'll sell you, right? Isn't that how I hate buying cars, by the way. I am the worst car buyer in insurance. I'm like, I just don't, because I feel like I'm getting bamboozled. But when you buy a house, it's more like getting a credit card. You go find out what you can buy, and then you go shopping. And so, yeah, like, but if someone comes with a not local lender, I won't say any names of any companies, but there's a lot of online companies that advertise some really low rates. What they don't understand is all this stuff is backed by the government mostly. They're not showing you all their fees. They're buying down rates. They're doing things. And I always suggest to people that come with something from out of, like, online, especially online lenders, is what if we get you with someone local just to compare rates, apples to apples? Because I think you're going to find that it's not as good as it looks.
Yeah, maybe somebody that knows the industry can uncover and explain what reality is.
That, and I think sometimes when you do, especially if you're a first-time buyer or haven't bought in a while, because even in the last 3 years, the whole state contracts changed. People are always like, well, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, why would you know what you're doing? You do this maybe like, if you're not an investor, most people don't buy houses every other year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How long have you owned your house that you live in?
12 years.
Right, exactly. Do you know how many times
we've put enough into my house that I plan to never move unless we relocate.
Right, but I mean, like, people don't, why would you know what it looks like? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you need someone that you can get on the phone. Like, even there's a very big bank that you can't call. If I can't call your lender on their cell phone and ask a question on a Saturday, I have a problem with that. Because guess when we're looking at houses? On Saturday.
Or in the evenings.
Right. If I can't get a hold of them for 24 hours, when I know I can get my title lady on the phone, I can get 3 or 4 lenders at any time of the day. And now, am I calling them at midnight? Of course not. But I'll email them and text them and say, hey, call me in the morning before I forget to ask you this.
Sure.
You need someone who can make sure, because the market changes all the time. Right now, interest rates are fluctuating constantly. You know, it's just,
Yeah.
make sure that you have people advocating. But yeah, I mean, with life comes experience and relationships with people. But I always try to give people several, because not everyone gets along with everyone. You know,
You've been doing this 24 years?
a long time.
Why would you even think about entering the realtor market with as many realtors as there are and deal with all of these details and idiosyncrasies that exist for this long?
I don't think, I kind of jump and then figure things out along the way. My degree's in hotel restaurant management, and I worked at what was the Adams Mark downtown at the time, right before 9/11. And my lady who I did meetings, and she did room blocks for corporate companies, and we'd have to walk around downtown and we'd go meet corporate clients. And this was before the Mayo was reopened, and she actually was the very first person I ever knew that invested in real estate ever. And like, so what happened is all of us that were going to bonus for the year got fired right after 9/11 because people stopped traveling. And in Oklahoma, you're an at-will state. And I hated my job, by the way, because I came from working at Eskimo Joe's for 7 years. So I had the funnest job, and then I had a grown-up job, and I didn't even like my grown-up job. So they waited till we got all, because literally the phone stopped ringing. 9/11 happened. We're connected to the Bank of Oklahoma, the BOK, you know, the tall building,
Sure,
which was built by the same man who built the Twin Towers. So they were waiting for us to get hit. So like people just stopped traveling. Like it was weird. Our phones stopped ringing. Nobody was sending anybody anywhere to go to a meeting out of state. No one. Like it was the weirdest, surreal thing. Like the phones used to ring all the time because we were connected to their building. And that seems so long ago. But we used to walk around and daydream about buying buildings downtown, like the Mayo. Wouldn't that be cool if we bought that?
Yeah, sure.
Someone did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But so while we were all in unemployment, I got my real estate license. And actually, she was my first client. I think I sold her 17 rental properties. But back then, it was all like the buy these and rent them Section 8. So that was my indoctrination into real estate. And then she ended up being my business partner. And I don't know. I didn't really know a lot about it. But it lent itself well to me being completely cuckoo in my life at that time, so I could run. And I'm one of those people that I like flexibility in my schedule. Well, this was before COVID. Everyone didn't have flex schedules where you could go work at the coffee shop, or I could come work with you and not be at an office and go work from wherever I am. I mean, real estate was a little more that way, but we also couldn't just hook up our whole business anywhere.
Right.
You know, now we can.
Yeah,
but,
you can go drive somebody around in your car these.
Oh my God, I can hook my iPad up to my car. You know what I mean? Like I can work anywhere. In fact, I'd rather work anywhere. I get to meet people. You know, I'd rather go set up at a coffee shop. In fact, I've kept an office. Why, I don't know. I don't go there. At my office all the time. But when I'm there, I end up sitting in the training room so I can see people. But I think, one, I love people. Two, it's never boring, ever. Real estate is many things, but boring it is not. And every time I think I've heard it all or done it all or seen it all, crazy jumps off. And so there's always a funny story to tell. And so I think that...
You said flexible. Your job is flexible, but you also work evenings and weekends.
All the time. But I get to do...
on call.
All the time.
So some people might think that being a realtor is not flexible. It's very demanding.
It is, but like differently. So I'm an endurance athlete. I race all over the place. But I know if I need to go, I can take my business with me anywhere. I've sold houses on a boat in the middle of the ocean on a cruise before. So for me, not having to be somewhere at 8 o'clock in the morning and clocking out at 5, I don't fit in boxes very well. And there's not many things. Like I worked until midnight last night trying to find my clients this house because I was saying earlier, buying land is expensive right now. You can't buy an acre with a house for that's not needs to be condemned. within like 40, you have to go pretty far, you know, to get what people, it's hard. Even I tried to find a 3-acre house with like even just a 1,500 square foot house as far out as past Muskogee to like way past like Pawhuska. You would think there would be a lot and you would be wrong. I mean, so our property values have gone up, but like, you know, it's like, it's not boring for me to do that, you know, but before that, I got to go to yoga and I got to go do that and I can come sit here with you and I can go have coffee with my friends. So I can't, and technically, I mean, I guess people have like time off where you ask off for vacation and do things. I don't know what that is, but I also don't get like unemployment or paid days off or things other people get. So I don't know. I guess it's a give and take.
Yeah. It's amazing how people see life differently.
Oh, I can't imagine. Like
other people would be like, I do not want to work evenings. I certainly don't want to work till midnight, and don't want to work weekends. And I'm saying all that to say this: that the diversity of ways of life for individuals and how we all fit.
Oh, 100%.
Like a puzzle
100%.
is amazing.
My sister distinguishes oil wells for Kaiser Francis. Sits in a freaking desk all day long and reads abstracts. I would rather shoot myself in the face. She has a great job. She makes big money. I would rather work at the coffee shop than do what she does. Mm-hmm. And she would die if she had my job. Like, everyone has a place in the world and we don't all fit. But like, I can't imagine, but it also gives me so much freedom to like do stuff for other people's charities and go do things for other people, or just not feel like I'm in a box. Like I hated my job out of college. Like I hated it. And I was really good at it. Like when I got fired, I was at 120% of my sales goal for the year, before the busiest time of the year, and I still hated it. Like I still walk into hotels and think people hate their jobs, and that was in 2000. That was 25 years ago. I would rather work when I have time at midnight, when it's finally quiet, and maybe put in 10 hours today, but I may not work at all on Monday next week. Who knows? You know what I mean? You take it when it comes, because if you don't in my business, someone else is answering the phone. You know what I mean? There's no guarantees. And sure, would it be nice to like get a regular people paycheck? Sure, but I can go make $10,000 in a day doing nothing. I mean, doing what I like.
Not every day.
No,
surely not every day.
100% not every day. And not every deal closes. And you know how much business I do and never get paid for people? All the time. I spent 2 hours writing a contract for some kids the other day, and they're like, yeah, we decided we don't like the neighborhood. Okay. Yeah. Okay. You know? I spent 2 weeks showing a girl houses, and she just sent me a message and said, I decided to move back to Memphis. Okay. What am I going to do? And I've learned a long time ago, the people you think will be the most loyal aren't. And people that you don't even know will send you their kids, cousins, uncles, friends, dog. You know, like, it's just, you know, what's Mel Robbins say? Let them. You know what I mean? Let them. People are funny. I know people that would let me take their children that would use a different realtor. People are funny about money. They just are. And so, do my feelings still get hurt? Sure. But
no way.
Totally. I'm still people. I want everyone to love me and all the things. But I've learned that, like, and then I have people that have bought at least 4 or 5 houses from me, sent me their kids. I don't know those people. I met them randomly at some house one day. You know, so it just is a business. It is. It ebbs and flows, and you just have to ride the waves. But yeah,
there are a lot of realtors.
A lot
in the Tulsa metro area.
It's waiting itself out. It got real wild, just like in 2008. Everybody wanted to be a real estate investor, and everybody wanted to be a realtor because everyone watches too much TV. And during COVID, you could legitimately throw a sign in the yard and make some money. Not do anything. Literally do nothing. You didn't even have to take pictures of a house, and it sold. And that's not real estate. That's not real life. And so now, I mean, people were sending offers that weren't even filled out. Like, they didn't even put a seller's name. I'm like, hey, you know that's not a legal document, right? Like, it doesn't work that way. Who's selling it? Whoever. I mean, but I think we're going through, it's not cheap to be a realtor. I mean, last year I sat and figured it out, and I spent I bet I spent half of my income being a realtor, just to be a realtor. Just the cost. Between trainings and dues, I mean, just the dues alone for the year are probably, I think they're up to about $2,500, just the cost. If you're not doing anything, that's a lot of money to just do nothing. Yeah. 70% of licensed realtors with the National Association of Realtors didn't sell one house last year across the board. It's a lot of money to just sit there.
It is.
So, yeah, it weeds itself out. It works itself out. You know what I mean? But, yeah. It's definitely, I think, I think I'm blessed that I know a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I'll tell anyone, I'm not good at a lot of things like minutia stuff, like paperwork. I mean, I have somebody that helps me do those things, but I'm really good at the people part of it.
Yeah. What differentiates you from other realtors, and where is your market niche?
I don't know that I have a niche because most of my stuff is referrals, so I'll go pretty much anywhere, unless I can't do you a service. Like, I am not.
Is it homes?
It is. Oh, yeah, mostly. I'll sell you a commercial building. Like, I'll help you buy something, but I would never help you with a commercial lease.
Do you sell open land too?
Oh, yeah. And now
you have relationships with those type people? Is that
I do, and if it's something like you were buying like huge tracts of land, I will always bring someone in and pay them a referral to help me. Or if it's something that's like, I sold a house in Howe, Oklahoma, right? I didn't even know Howe, Oklahoma was there. I did not. It's by Kavanaugh Hill. Did you know we have the biggest hill in the world in Kavanaugh, Oklahoma, which is by Poto? I did not know that. They did not just make that up. It's actually true. But I didn't know the areas very well. Very good clients, very good friend of mine. I learned all about this hunting app that'll tell you boundaries of lands because hunters don't want to be on people's lands. So, like, I learned a bunch of stuff, but I consulted people because I would have been doing my client a disservice if we hadn't have surveyed the land, which is a whole lot different than buying land in town. If you wanted to, when people ask me about commercial, I always refer commercial leases out. I don't know a thing. There's too many variables. I would be doing you such a disservice to do a commercial lease for you because I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
Right?
So your lane, basically speaking, is single-family dwelling?
I have a lot of background in investments. So if you're not buying a 50 apartment building, if you're buying a 6 apartment building or smaller investments, yes. Or if you're buying a commercial building, we can do that. But like, if you were buying like a whole apartment complex, I would refer you out. But yes, mostly residential. But my background for 15 years was investments, literally. I was talking to a client in Norman today that wants to buy a foreclosure. Well, you can chase we didn't have foreclosures for 4 years. There's people that were filed lease pendants back when COVID started that are just now getting foreclosed on. So I have a lot of information that some people don't have on short sales and bank owns and how to buy investments, that stuff. But I would say mostly residential real estate and some investments. Like if you were buying huge tracts of land, I would call on to my land guys to help. You know what I mean? Because they know, one, they have horses to go ride the land, too. You know what I mean? When you've been around for a while, you know what your boundaries are with things. Yeah. And my job is to not do you harm and to help you be successful in buying, selling, and investing. So if it's out of my realm, we'll pull whoever we need to pull to get to what you need. You know what I mean? And yeah, with time comes contractors and who not to call and you know what I mean? All the things, and why is that building still sitting there? And calling other people I know that invest and saying, "What do you know?" Because when you're good to people, and when you deal with people who don't come from a background of lack, there's enough business for all of us. There's enough investors for all of us. There's enough for all of us. So me calling, like one of my favorite people in the whole wide world works for another company. Years ago, we worked for a company. I call her all the time. She sends me people. Like, we don't all do the same thing on the same day. Our availability is not the same on the same day. But I'll be like, hey, what do you know about this building? Who owns it? We trade back and forth because I don't surround myself with people who work from an operation of lack. There's plenty for all of us. You know what I mean? So I stay in my lane and try to help the best I can. And I tell people, call me. If it's not my jam, we'll find out whose it is. And it may not be at my company. It may be at someone else's, you know, and we'll just figure it out as we go. But yeah, I would say mostly residential. But I know more than most out of I learned how to do short sales because in 2008, that's where the business was. We had stacks and stacks of short sales because people were upside down. And what's unfortunate about that is a lot of people wait till it's too late because they want to pretend like it's not happening. Whereas if they would call us in the beginning, a lot of times banks will pay you to move out. A lot of times you had equity in there. We can do some things, and how you handle it, it's more detrimental to you to miss a payment than it is for you to do a short sale. Because missing the payment shows that you can't pay, whereas a short sale shows that you tried to do something. So there's a world of misinformation, but I think we're headed back towards that because, I mean, there were no foreclosures, literally, for years. And so I think we'll see more. As an investor, there'll be more. But what's funny to me is investors, people think bank loans are the best deal. I'm like, do you know how many people you're bidding against? I do, because I used to process them. You're bidding against 50 other people for the same house, and often you're paying way too much money for that house. Yeah. You know what's much better? Go find someone's grandma's house. Somebody who they took care of the mechanicals, but the cosmetic stuff looks like the Brady Bunch moved out yesterday. Because guess what? You know someone lived in it recently. It's functioning. On some level, it works. And less people are bidding against you. So there's gaps, you know. I mean, I guess some of the knowledge base just comes from time on earth and doing things.
Time in industry?
100%, yeah.
So with that, let's wrap it up by you telling me the most important thing to find when you're looking for a realtor. What is the number one thing that differentiates you and everybody else? What's the key to building that relationship?
I think, one, I would just tell people before you do anything, like your brothers, cousins, aunts, remember the minute you call someone, and there are ambulance chasers, and I'm not. Like, my first question to you is, are you talking to a realtor? Because I'm not stepping on anyone's toes. I'm not that person. And no one at this time should be showing you anything without you signing something. Like, I have a friend, and her mother-in-law is helping her, and she's calling the listing agent. I'm like, I need to know where you're at in this, because I'm not spending, my time giving you my information and how to get around this that you have when you have someone else involved. Number one, it's not fair to that agent. It's also not fair to me. But my thing is, I think people do business with people they like and that they trust. And I think just like anything, like not everyone meshes. I think when you get a lender, when you get a realtor, talk to a couple people. See who you click with and why you click with them. There's a lot of good realtors, but there's also a lot of bad ones. You know, I mean, obviously my benefit above everything is that I've been doing it a long time. I've seen a lot of things. I can walk in a house and tell you a whole lot before you ever have an inspection. I'm not a home inspector, of course not, no. But I've been in a whole lot of houses in 24 years. Been through a lot of home inspections, you know what I mean? And so I think that's one of the big benefits. I also know everyone. I mean, that's, anyone that knows me will tell you that's my superpower, is that I just know a lot of people, because I'm in all the things. But a lot of real estate is relationships. Like, if I know the other realtor on the other side, that's like the best thing ever. It makes the transaction go a lot smoother. The communication goes better. And how you treat people. Your name in the industry is everything. Like, there's people that aren't fun to work with, and their name isn't good in the industry. And we were on a bus tour for Parade of Homes the other day, and a person's name came up, and it's like, you want to avoid them. You like, if their name's on a sign in the yard, you're like, you know, of course you'll show it, but you already know it's going to be hard to work with that person. And that's not that is absolutely not who you'd want to have. Because, I mean, what does that look like if you're listing your home? And people don't want to show it because your realtor is not nice. It's not a good way to start the day. And of course, we don't want to be biased, but you know, I mean, if you already know it's going to be hard for your clients to deal with that person, I'm going to tell you, you know, I had an experience with that agent that wasn't a good one. And this is why, you know, I mean, that's just the truth. So I think one is just ask around and find out, you know, everybody's niche is not the same.
So if I came to you and I wanted to get to know if we worked together well or not, how would I
think you just talk. I think that you talk to people. I mean, especially if it depends on how I get a lead. You know what I mean? Like if it's a referral, and especially if it's like, because I mean, we all get online leads too. But, you know, I usually try to have a conversation with someone, meet them at the coffee shop, or some people like to talk online, whatever, and just talk and say, hey, what are your goals and what are your things? And usually you can kind of get a feel for people. You know what I mean? Before...
so like a 10-minute conversation should be enough? I would say more.
I mean, some of them are like an hour. I mean, it really just depends on the questions you ask. Like, I hate being sold things, so I can usually tell if I like someone in 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, I hate being sold things. But if I want something, I'll tell you I want it. Today, right now. Like, people laugh at me because I'll call someone that told me something 5 years ago and be like, hey, remember when you told me that you have this deal? Okay, well, now I'm ready to do it. But I'm also incredibly loyal. Like, I refer the people that take care of my clients. But when my clients are like, someone didn't call me back, I'm like, I need you to tell me that. Because my name's on this. And if I'm referring people and they're not calling you back, that's not okay with me at all. So I just tell people, I'm like, you know, if this is what you want to do, because this is the biggest purchase of your life, let me know. You know, and some people, it's a 5-minute conversation. I was on the phone. I told someone I'd call them back the other day, and I sat in my car in a parking lot and talked to these kids for an hour and 20 minutes. They just had a lot of questions. And that's fine, you know? It's a big deal. You should have questions. You know, you're spending a lot of money. A lot. You should say, if I lose sight of the fact that it is a huge deal that someone's buying a house, I shouldn't be doing my job anymore. I just shouldn't. It's a huge deal. You know, I remember when I got approved for my first house, I'd been, as you know, I mean, I've been in recovery. I was like 5 years, 6 years sober, and I sat in a parking lot and cried. I'm like, this doesn't happen for people like me. And I'm buying a house. That's a huge deal. And I don't want to lose sight of that. So, yeah, I mean, sometimes it's a 5-minute conversation. Sometimes it's not. And I can get a feel for people, too, especially if it's a referral, it's usually they know what they're doing. They came to me because somebody told them that they had a good experience, and usually those people kind of know what they want. But like online people, you can kind of get a feel. Oh, we just filled that form out. You know, we don't know if we're really moving there. Okay, great. Let me know when you know if you're moving here or not. And then we'll go look at houses. But yeah, I think you should get a feel because you're going to be spending a lot of time with somebody. At least for 30 days, you're going to be spending a lot of time with somebody. So if you don't click with somebody or you don't understand them, that's kind of important.
Maybe also look at, or at least ask them how many houses they sell annually. You think
yeah,
that
I
has
think that's
anything to do with
important. I do. I mean, some. Yeah. I mean, there's some agents that sell to their friends that sell 5 or 6 a year, and there's some people that only sell like 8, but they're $1 million houses. So I mean, it's
how active are you going to be?
Right. It just depends on what your market is. And like there's some people who sell investments that are no houses over like $150,000. I mean, and selling tons of them. So it's just the fact that you're doing something besides, you know, sitting in your basement and selling one house a year, and you're not active in the community doing stuff and knowing other realtors. Because to me, I think that's important because you're establishing relationships.
That's what I'm talking about.
100%.
So personality and performance. Past performance?
100%, I think so.
Or 2. Yeah. Is there anything else that we need to look for?
Experience is important, yeah, and that you've been doing it a while. I mean, there's some new agents that do a really good job, but ask the questions, like what happens if this happens, or you know what I mean, or when are you going to be available? Somebody that came to me, like the agent was only available to show them 1 house a week. Buying a house is usually a really emotional purchase for people. They want it now. It's
personality, performance,
availability. 100%. Because like I said, everyone doesn't mesh. And if you don't, find someone you mesh with. And if they're not calling you back or they're not doing the things, give them the opportunity to do the right thing And if they don't fix it, then get out of whatever you signed. You know what I mean? But most people I don't think people go out of their way to not do the right thing. You know what I mean? So, but yeah.
Depends on, well, it seems like you would have to define expectations of what type of level of interaction or availability they're going to be there.
100%, I think so. And I think some of that's managing people's expectations. It's like when we talked earlier, like I tell people from the front, I'm not showing you more than 5 houses a day. You're going to forget. And then they get there and they're like, oh, now I understand why you told us not to do that. Because you just forget. You get overwhelmed. They all look the same at the end of the day. It's just too many things. And you're trying to remember. Think about it. It's kind of crazy. You're getting ready to pick something you're going to have for a few years and live in.
At least.
Right. And you're trying to remember these details about it. And you're like, at the end of 5 or 6, you're like, I don't even know what that house looked like. And you go back and you ask the questions and you see the things. And, you know, some people just want, like I said, I annoy people sometimes because I tell them the truth. I have to sleep at night. You're going to move into that house, and I don't want you calling me being like, why didn't you tell me? I did. My job is to say, hey, there's an apartment complex behind you and that someone may not want to live there. I sold a house for a girl who's in Jinx in a great neighborhood, but you could see the turnpike when you looked out the back door. And I'm like, if I would have told you when you bought this house, you're eliminating half the buyers that don't want to see that. Well, I didn't care. No, you don't. But the other people do. And you can see the McDonald's billboard 2 houses down. It's a great neighborhood, great schools, but not everyone wants that house. And a good realtor would have told her that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's just, you know, interview people. It's a big deal. You go visit doctors. If you don't like them, you pick a new doctor, right? So how would that be any different? You're hiring a professional to help you do something. So, yeah, I think that would be the thing. All the things.
So basically 3 keys.
Right. I think so.
Personality, performance, availability?
I think so. And I think performance ethics and all that falls under that same thing.
Sure.
All of that. It's
Yeah,
kind of bundled into the same thing. But yeah, absolutely. I do. And here's another thing. Like for instance, availability. Someone's coming from out of town and I'm not in town and one of my girls is. Either pay them a referral to show that person when you are, or just give them the referral and take the client. You know what I mean? People are available when they're available to buy houses. And I'm not always here. You know what I mean? I'm here a lot, and I have people that help. But I would make sure people have a backup. Like, what if you're not available? Who's going to help you?
You have that in your relationships?
Absolutely. I work for Keller, and I really I don't know that everyone does, but I think when you help other people out, they help you out. I've shown houses for people that aren't even in my brokerage before. It's, you just, like I said, when you don't work from a place of lack, there's enough for everybody. And a lot of us have been doing it there's a few of us have been around for a few years. So we try. Realtors don't retire, we just die. Yeah, there's.
Because it's not really a job. It's a career.
It is a full-time lifestyle, I would say, over a career. Yeah, I mean, you're making it, like you said, I'm on call all the time, 100%. And sometimes that means you miss stuff, you know? But I also get to do a lot of cool stuff too, so it's a trade-off. But yeah, definitely. Like, do I want to work from 2 to 4 on every Sunday afternoon at an open house? No, not always. But I don't have to do it every weekend either, so... You know, it's a trade-off between having flexibility and something I don't hate. I love what I do. So there's, like you said, if you find something you like, then it doesn't feel like a job. Right?
Yes.
And I get to help people. And most of the time, people are happy that they're buying a house. Sometimes people aren't happy about buying a house. You know, sometimes there's divorces and people die and all the things. So you're a realtor and a therapist and all of the things that go with that. But yeah, sometimes you need to call attorneys and sometimes you need people to build retaining walls and tell people things they don't want to hear about their house. But yeah, there's things I just didn't know I was going to be doing when I started selling real estate, like removing dead animals and, you know, crawling in crawl spaces. And bugs. Nobody said anything about those things. Those things have happened. Or squatters, like you had a house. So things, calling the police. So yeah, there's definitely, it's never, ever boring. Never.
We are here to help you discover or develop your passions, how you can use them, and why you exist. How can we help you help others better?